Yes, hello, hey, this is the Comic Conspiracy, episode 483. I don't know how I normally start podcasts. I've done 483 of these, and I kind of forgot. So my name is Ryan Higgins. Who's here with me this week?
Brock Sager.
Kevin.
I'm Kevin.
Sure. So we had like 17 false starts to this podcast with dogs barking and things being dropped and Toby watching basketball games. And so, but now we're here, we're recording, we're doing the thing. I've hit record, and whether
you like it
or not, it doesn't matter. We're just going with it. Hey, how's everyone? So nothing happened last week after we recorded the podcast on Tuesday night last week. Very uneventful, quiet, not newsworthy week at all. That's what I'm talking about. Assuming there's a functioning democracy in the next year, we've got some comic book news to talk about. Just going to get into it. So we have, hold on. Before we do this, we have Metal Talk at the end of the podcast. So we're going to do spoilers. So that's going to be kind of the bigger talk today. We got a couple of news things, not too much. Kevin.
Yes.
You were asked some questions.
Yes.
And you want to just clarify here on the podcast.
Yes. About our Twitter poll. So this is the very condensed 1-minute version of what's going on with Miracleman. And if you hold on.
So we have a poll of the...
It's closed now. It's closed now.
Right, it was closed. It's closed now. Of what is the most likely thing... Of all these unlikely things, what is the most likely to happen in 2021?
Yes.
The winner is, of course, the return of Saga.
That was the far and away winner, yes. Okay. And the air cut of Suicide Squad. Oh, what? No. Starman was second. Air cut was third.
Yeah.
And this 1-minute topic was the distant fourth. The reason I'm talking about it now is because you kind of explained the Starman stuff last week, but we just kind of brushed past this one, and I've gotten a few questions about it. So I just kind of wanted to hit this real quick. Again, skip ahead 1 minute if this is not your cup of tea. So what the bet is, in the 80s, after Alan Moore left Miracleman and Neil Gaiman took over, the plan was Gaiman and Mark Buckingham as a team were going to do 3 volumes of Miracleman. Like
18 issues or so.
Yeah, like 7 issues per... The first volume the first one was published as 7 individual issues and then collected. So that's volume, the Golden Age. That's volume 1, the Golden Age. Volume 2, the Silver Age. Issue 1 was written and drawn and finished, and then Eclipse ran out of money, and Gaiman and Buckingham never got paid for it, so they just kept the comic. So it is finished. It's just never been published. The other remaining, let's just call it 6 issues of the Silver Age, are all written. And there is some question about how much of it is drawn. Has Buckingham drawn half of them, one of them, a half of one issue? We don't know, but he
drew 1 page. We know that for the Marvel.
Well, yeah.
That one shot.
Well, here's the thing. So Gaiman has had these scripts done since, I believe, 1987. That's when they were supposed to come out. I've seen Carlos Pacheco's artwork for the cover of issue 3 of the Silver Age.
They solicited a couple of these, and Marvel bought Miracleman in like
14?
14? Yeah, that sounds right.
So the legal rights to Miracleman are an entire podcast on their own. Let's just not even get into that. The point is, what we're betting on is not, because I think some people thought it was Marvel luring Neil Gaiman back to reboot Miracleman. It's not that. It's Marvel finally publishing these scripts from the 80s whenever they are drawn fully, which we don't know. That's what the bet is.
Yeah, so, I think if you go back to like maybe 2015 after they did their reprints, they solicited at least 3 issues.
Yeah,
right?
They've solicited the first 3.
Okay,
so
and then...
We know that one of them is completely done.
Right. And you have to assume if they got to solicit 3 of them, at least work started on that second issue.
Right. So, and every time it comes up on Twitter, Neil says that Buckingham is currently at work on these things and how excited they are after all these decades to finally be able to finish this story. So anyway, long story short, what the bet is when Marvel will solicit material that is in some state of completion already.
Yeah, will they release an issue of Miracleman this year? I do not think they will.
The agonizing thing with this is there is a finished issue. Now you wouldn't just release
30 years.
You wouldn't just release number 1 and then just not ever put anything else out. So I understand why they've never done it.
Grant Morrison's Wildcats.
Oh, that was unintentional.
I would guess probably the plan is, and I think Tom Brevoort may have said this a few years ago, who even knows now. I think what their thought is they want all of them done and then solicit it.
Yeah.
So
that's a good thing. That's a good thing to want.
Yeah. Anyway, the end. That's what the bet was.
Someone had asked me on Twitter, unrelated but similar, just because of the how long it's been since we've kind of heard anything about this. Someone asked on Twitter what was up with Astro City, and Kurt Busiek, the writer, came back and did like 50 issues at Wildstorm, DC, Vertigo, because he kind of for the newer run. I think it was close to 50 issues. And then went on hiatus and said, "Oh, we're going to do original graphic novels." And then everything went out of print, and nothing has come out since. And I just tagged him a post. I was like, I've asked DC multiple times, "What's up with these collections? Why is everything out of print? You know, not even the new stuff, just the old stuff. Like how the stuff out of print." I just tagged Kurt Busiek. I'm like, do you have any updates? And he was like, very big news very soon. I'm paraphrasing here, but
okay.
So
I'm honestly surprised.
Not quite as dramatic as
not as agonizing a wait, but I'm surprised there was never an Astro City omnibus in all this time.
I kind of wonder if
news.
What's that?
Very big news might be a hint at an omnibus.
Well, yeah, I almost wonder if it's going to Image or something. And DC, because Wildstorm's, done as a line basically. I want to say Vertigo. I want to say
don't say that.
Well, we're getting Grifter at least. We're getting some of the characters, but the Wildstorm itself is gone.
Wildstorm
it was
forever.
Yeah, and it was at Image. I mean, that's where Astro City started because it went over with Wildstorm to DC. So it would not surprise me if maybe those rights reverted back to him and he's going to take it over to Image or Boom or something, because I just don't see DC doing anything with these characters. And yeah, I kind of wonder, like, I don't know, like Fables and Preacher. I guess those are old enough. Probably the rights are there with because some of that stuff has gone back to their creators. Like, didn't 2020 Vision that? Do you remember that?
Oh, that's right.
Series?
Yeah,
that left. Moonshadow.
So Moonshadow's at Dark Horse now.
Yeah, and went out of print immediately because it's the Dark Horse. What else? There was a couple other Vertigo books that had recently reverted back to their creators. 100%, the Paul Pope Image reprinted that recently. So there's a bunch of that Vertigo stuff is going back. Astro City is such a huge body of work. If DC's not going to do anything with it, I would all but guarantee Kirby Six going to get that back and put it out with Image or one of the IDW or one of these other companies. It's just that's just money in the bank. And
him and Brent Anderson and Alex Ross kind of as a team on that is similar to this thing with Gaiman and Buckingham, is that those guys committed to do the whole thing as a team. So it's not a matter of, well, you have these Neil Gaiman scripts, just call in some scrub to knock them out. They own it. Buckingham and Gaiman own it as they're part owners. So it's not that easy.
I don't think anymore.
Right. I think they had to give up the stake in the this. We're going to go down a serious rabbit hole, so let's just leave it at that. The legal rights to this character is the biggest shit show, even more than Shazam and even more than any of the Siegel and Schuster fight.
At this point, I think it's all but done. I I think the original creator had sold all his stuff to Marvel too. So I think at this point, and there's a big lawsuit with Todd McFarlane.
Todd McFarlane bought it, quote unquote. There was the owner of the publisher of Warrior, who was publishing it in the UK, owned it, quote unquote. I'm using air quotes from all of this. So
not the Golden Age stuff. Yeah.
No, the Alan Moore.
Yeah.
Anyway,
very confusing.
Yeah.
Anyway,
moving on.
It did win the poll, so
it won last place in the poll and first place in my heart.
And I think it's I just think we're unlikely to see that come out anytime soon. But what are you gonna do? We have a couple things to talk about. It's mostly some movie and TV stuff. I figure talking about this. We got some big talk end of the podcast about metal. We'll start with the big stuff. Big interview with Kevin Feige about Marvel and MCU and everything coming up. I think for a lot of people, one of the biggest pieces of news is one of the biggest pieces of news is that Deadpool 3 happening, rated R, MCU. This is been confirmed. Who knows when? It might be quite a ways off, but I'm sure if they want to, it would be really bizarre to see a Marvel Disney Deadpool before X-Men, but maybe they just keep it its own separate thing and they just don't even need to acknowledge that it's in the X-Men universe. Maybe it's kind of just its own separate thing. I don't know.
I just can't wait for all the cameos.
Well, right, yeah. I just don't know what they would do with if they can't acknowledge the X-Men or they can't talk about the X-Men because they haven't been introduced yet. They could have it still be in the Fox world if they wanted. They own it, so they could do whatever they want, I guess. I just don't know. It'd be kind of hard, I think, to see.
He's gonna jump worlds where there's other superheroes and no X-Men, and when the X-Men start showing up, he goes like, "I know you."
Yeah. He could.
Did you see Ryan Reynolds' what's it called? Tweet on how he got that approved?
No, what do you say?
Full disclosure. I showed him Spider-Man 1 and 2 and told him it was Deadpool 1 and 2.
Yeah. I did see that. They talked a lot about he talked about not replacing Chadwick Boseman, talked about WandaVision and Doctor Strange and blah 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 blah. One of the now this of course is I'm gonna paraphrase here and reading some of these notes off Comics Beat. So paraphrase here. It says Black Widow is currently planned for a theatrical release in May, but with the ever shifting COVID condition, that is not written in stone. He says, "Don't ask me week by week what is going to happen in this world. I have no idea, and I don't want to guess." I think it was months and months and months of no, theater only. Now it's halfway through January, and they're like, maybe premium on Disney Plus would be a good idea because not much is going to change between now and the first weekend in May. Well, not enough will change between now and the first week. He had some questions about whether the Netflix Marvel shows will come over to the MCU, and basically gave a never say never answer, which would be cool, but I would think unlikely. I expect, especially at least with Daredevil, they would just recast because I don't know if they would want to have a PG-13 movie connected to an R-rated show. Or if they're going to reboot the show, I feel like they wouldn't want to start.
Well,
it's going to be R-rated.
You got to watch this other stuff too.
Deadpool is going to kick down the doors for it. They can soft reboot it.
Well, there is talk of the MCU show or the Netflix shows coming to Disney Plus, not even Hulu. When I saw the Wolverine on Disney Plus, that really surprised me. I don't believe it's the R-rated version. I believe it's just the PG-13 rated version. I could be wrong. I didn't look into it. But the Wolverine, I think, is as strong as they're going to go. If for some reason we saw Deadpool on Disney Plus, then all bets are off.
Well, there was also in all of that, gosh, what was it, a month? I don't even, time has no meaning. But whenever there was all those rumors about the Spider-Man movie, the new one, there was that one about Charlie Cox being in it as Matt Murdock.
Right. As like from one of like the parallel dimensions or something.
Yeah, and that's the perfect way to do it. You don't even have to reboot the show and like, what are you going to do with Daredevil? Just have him in a few scenes.
Yeah. Well, you know, Daredevil, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Jessica Jones, The Defenders. That's a good enough team. Those are good enough characters that they're not going to let them sit. Especially Luke Cage, if Black Panther is going to be off the table. I could see them really wanting to do something with Luke Cage. Iron Fist, clearly Shang-Chi is the stand-in temporarily. We'll see how good that movie does. You know, it's
phenomenal.
I hope so. I mean, to the audience, Iron Fist and Shang-Chi are fucking nothing. Like they could be anyone or anything. So if Shang-Chi is now the number one martial arts thing in the MCU and it's not Iron Fist, cool, whatever. Like to most people, nobody cares. But I would think there's enough, you know, Disney's not going to let any of these characters sit if they think they could do something with them. And Daredevil is a legitimate character. It's the multiple movies, or there's had movies and multiple seasons of TV shows, and it's a name, and you know they've got this back catalog to work with. Yeah. Oh, and of course the Punisher, obviously. Well, maybe less so after this past week, but they're not going to let the Punisher sit. Merchandising alone for that is huge.
I just think the Punisher works better as a TV series because it's one of those things where what could you do with the Punisher that we haven't seen in a million Schwarzenegger, Bruce Willis, Stallone, et cetera, shoot 'em up, John Wick. I mean, what are you going to do with the Punisher?
Yeah, and post John Wick, Punisher doesn't seem to make a lot of sense in the movie, but Punisher TV show, you know, and I thought the Punisher TV show was fine. I didn't watch season 2 yet. I'm getting through Daredevil season 3. I'm finally back on the Netflix one. I'm going to polish off those last seasons. But again, the problem the Punisher season had, at least season 1, it was the same problem all the Netflix shows has. It's just, boy, they are dull. They really need to get some shit going on in those shows. You know, say what you want about the CW shows. They may be corny and cheesy at points, but holy shit, there's a villain in every episode and there's a fight scene in every episode. I went through like 6 episodes of Daredevil season 3, and I'm just like, come the fuck on. Like, finally something happened. I think it was like the end of episode 6 or 7. But I'm like, man, they take forever to say nothing in this show. So that would have been like one episode.
You have to pay attention to where everybody is. Every water drop, like you have to pay attention.
It just, look, I'm all up for like cool character, just characters talking to each other for an hour. That's totally fine if that's what your show is. But when I watch a Daredevil TV show, I need more than that. Toby, I know you're a big booster for Daredevil season 3, but the first half is.
I was shaking my head at you, man. You're crazy. You're just flat out crazy.
When you get to Bullseye actually coming in, that was a cool scene, and the big fight in the Daily Bugle, or Daily Bugle, not Daily Bugle. What was it? What's the paper? What's the paper?
Oh, the Herald.
No, I can't remember what the paper's called. Daily Hell's Kitchen. It just took forever to get there. Forever. You could have done that in 2 episodes, and had him in had Bullseye in.
I'm biting my tongue right now like Toby because I don't want to wade into the hot take of a Daredevil season 3 review in January 2021.
2 years late, 2.5 years late.
I still haven't even watched it.
You're crazy, Ryan. Just fucking nutso. If this was a TV show, you'd be like, "This is the greatest thing of all time." character building is important, and
It is for like an episode or two. Have something happen.
Shaking my head here. Let's move on. I wish I could like strangle you right now, but I can't. So you're lucky.
Look,
but full disclosure, I do think the Netflix series had a lot of filler episodes and a lot of filler scenes that I wish was either cut down or the same budget and just do 8 episodes instead of 10 or whatever it was. I'm doing this by memory right now. But fuck, season 3 was phenomenal. It's full of shit.
It got better. I'm on like 7. I think 7 right now. A couple other things he talked about. WandaVision, which starts Friday, so we'll have at least we'll talk. It's 2 episodes on.
Yeah, I think
on Friday.
I think most of the streamings are dropping 1 or 2 episodes or 3 episodes, and then starting a rotation.
I sure hope they drop 1.
Well, I think it's 3 for the reviewers, right? And then aren't we going to be just 1 each, or no?
I thought, because they reviewed the first 3. I thought I saw WandaVision was the first 2, but I could be wrong about that.
Yeah.
Okay, while we're talking, it's 1 episode at a time.
Okay.
Oh, it is. Okay. But yeah, obviously, talked about the Tom King, Gabriel Walta Vision miniseries as kind of a influence for the show, which good to see them kind of acknowledge the comics. They kind of really do.
Coast Avengers.
What's that?
And West Coast Avengers.
Would they say the West Coast Avengers?
No, I'm just guessing.
Oh. So look forward to Deadpool. Secret Invasion. They just talk a little bit more about that. 6 episodes. So still going to be a little bit way off from that. I don't expect we're going to see that anytime soon. There's so many shows coming and so many of these movies coming. But yeah. So we're after a big pause, MCU's starting to roll back out again. So look forward to that. I got to assume FF and X-Men are the main focus on the next 10 years of these movies. They're doing some stuff with the Avenger kids right now, but when it comes to the theatrical stuff, I have to assume those are going to be the big focus, especially X-Men. Once you get X-Men going, who knows when that's going to be though?
We'll be alive for it. Don't worry.
What was that?
We'll be alive for it. Don't worry.
Oh yeah, no.
They're gonna make some money. We'll be alive for it. I'm sure of it.
We got a while. So yeah. If you guys also remember, is a Morbius movie coming out this year?
That was last year.
Morbius?
It was supposed to be a Morbius movie.
Well, there was one last year. It was supposed to be one last year, and then now this year, and now the Morbius movie again because COVID. Moving to October 8th. I will say that's probably unlikely to hold that date. But if Hulu needs a big budget quote unquote movie to throw onto its film list of films to kind of get some people to check out Hulu again, maybe this would be a good one for Sony. Why I keep thinking Fox. I keep thinking Morbius is Fox for some reason. No, what the hell does Sony have? Sony have anything? No. And they have a streaming thing. They're not part of Hulu. The hell's
who streams Sony stuff?
Yeah, where does Sony have their stuff? I don't know. Anyway, Morbius is coming out now in October. Maybe. Are we gonna have Venom this year? No.
Wait, are you talking about the Sony announcement from like in the last week where they're launching a high def service for their TV owners? For people who own this, okay.
No, I saw that they had some. I was wondering where does Sony have their stuff streaming? Is Spider-Man streaming? I mean, if it's just Netflix, then they don't need it. But
wasn't it on Crackle for a while?
Yeah, it was on
still
Crackle.
Around?
Yeah,
I don't think is Crackle still?
It's there.
Okay. Yeah, Venom is scheduled for June 25th. No. And Morbius is October 8th. Unlikely. So we'll see. I don't know. Whatever. Maybe they'll drop them somewhere else, or I don't know. Maybe 1,000 other movies, or Morbius. Morbius coming out in October is the right time for it. Halloween. I mean, it's out with the horror movies and everything. That makes sense. But yeah, I would say
horror movies are in February.
Unlikely to happen.
Can we just pause here and just inhale this for a moment? Set aside COVID, set aside the country on fire and everything that's going on, and just you're living in a world where there's a live action Morbius movie. Not Morbius appearing in some other superhero movie, a movie about Morbius.
And important enough for them to adjust the date multiple times.
Right. That's insane.
Not important enough for them to release a bunch of Epic collections.
Well, yeah. The other thing too is it's a Morbius movie without any other introduction. It's just they're dropping it, right? Yeah. It's like Guardians. It's like boom, we're just going to drop it.
Oh yeah, I mean all these. Do you need an introduction to Morbius? He's a living vampire.
Right.
Good luck explaining that one. Maybe they'll have a crossover with Blade. Maybe Blade and Morbius can team up. One more little, speaking of movie and TV stuff, not happening anytime soon. Arrow, the spinoff, Green Arrow and the Canaries, is officially dead. Mark Guggenheim said on Twitter, like, it was actually killed, like, before COVID, or like when COVID hit. So this has been known for a while, but now it's like, I guess, more public and official that the Green Arrow and Canaries, which is Arrow's daughter from the future, has traveled to current day and now teams up with the Black Canaries to do whatever they do. And I did not see this happening. Just like that Black Lightning spinoff show with villain whose name I'm blanking on right now.
Painkiller.
Who thinks he's like, what? Well, why the hell are you doing a show with this guy? Why don't you just keep Black Lightning around and have the guy out of the cast for something like that? What a weird ass project. But yeah, I did not expect Green Arrow and the Canaries to actually happen, and now it's not. So there you go. What are you gonna do? We got 20,000 other superhero shows to watch. So, anyone missing this? Anyone sad? Toby, I know you're super excited. So bummed this isn't happening.
Batman is in it.
What's that?
I'm only excited because Batman is in it.
Batman's in the Green Arrow.
Oh, shit. Sorry, I'm watching the game.
Not Batwoman.
You moved on from Morbius, have you?
Oh, is Batman in Morbius?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, Michael Keaton is in there.
And it has
is he playing Vulture?
In it.
Is he playing Vulture in it?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Or Birdman.
Have you not watched a trailer?
Is Michael Keaton in the trailer as Vulture for Morbius?
Yes.
Have you seriously not watched the trailer?
I have no recollection of this. Is he really?
Yes.
Are you serious? It's like the biggest thing about the trailer.
Yeah, I have no idea. I don't remember that. I don't remember that at all.
Wow.
Does he show up at the end being like...
He just forgets everything.
Being like, I'm Vulture. It was like 2 years ago. Does he show up being like, I'm Vulture?
He's like, what's up, Doug? You seriously don't... Wow.
Yeah, I don't remember that at all.
Wow.
That's super bizarre.
Yeah, you're weird. You're weird, Ryan.
So is Morbius going to be in the Secret Six? Sinister Six? Sinister Six?
Maybe. I actually thought the trailer was really cool. I have otherwise no interest at all in Morbius.
But, yeah, no, I thought it was cool too. I was baffled.
Look, I thought the trailer was cool. I'm like, oh, okay, this is interesting. I had no interest before. And then Michael Keaton shows up. I'm like, oh, I'm in.
But I could go back and rewatch this trailer. I don't remember Michael Keaton being in it.
Yeah.
It was like the main thing. It's like the little surprise that Ella kept for the very end. And then he's like, what's up, dog?
Was it like after they showed the title card? Did I not watch to the end of the trailer or something?
Then I thought.
I'll have to go back and look at it. It's
Yeah.
super bizarre. Well, sure, we're gonna get a Spider-Verse, a live-action Spider-Verse movie, and Morbius is gonna be in the.
I'm pretty sure we had a whole podcast segment about all of this, and
I'm sure we did. I don't remember it at all because it's fucking Morbius. Okay, I put about this much. I will not remember that we recorded the segment when I hit stop to end this podcast tonight because it's Morbius. I mean, I'll go see it, or I'll stay at home and watch it. I got thanks to Lane, I got New Mutants, so I'm gonna try to watch that this week. So maybe I'll talk some New Mutants next week.
All right.
Does that mean I gotta watch New Mutants?
No. Your life is no poorer if you never see it.
I really want to see it because of Magic. I thought she looked really cool in the trailer.
She does look really cool, but Toby, you've seen her in the trailer. Save 90 minutes of your life.
You don't understand my movie watching and TV watching at all. I could be very happy with 2 minutes of footage, and the entire thing is awesome.
Okay.
Did you get to watch? Did you get to try to watch Wonder Woman a fourth or fifth time?
No, I have not, and I'll tell you exactly why.
Because basketball's on?
No, I've decided to click on Warrior, which is on HBO Max now. It's a Cinemax show, but I guess HBO has it now.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, that show is phenomenal. I was like completely floored by that one. I was like, the first minute in, I'm like, I'm completely sold, and I went through in 2 seasons worth in like a week. Yeah,
I don't even know what it is. What is it called? Warrior?
Warrior. It's a show with Shannon Lee, Bruce Lee's daughter, is producing. So is Justin Lin from Fast and Furious fame and the world, based on a story that Bruce Lee did a treatment on like years ago. She put it in. She had it in a box, and Justin Lin heard about it, asked her about it. She goes, "Yeah, it's true. Here's the treatment," and they started working on it with this other guy that was the writer for The Banshee, which is also a Cinemax show, and it's about a Chinese immigrant coming into late 1800s in San Francisco, and it's about gangs, it's about union workers, it's about politics. Oh man, but the show is so good.
It's cool.
The action is what Iron Fist should have been. Dude, no, I mean it's a phenomenal. All the characters in there are rock solid. I really, really like them. Like the bad guys are great. I'm a big Dustin Nguyen fan from 21 Jump Street because as a kid he was the only Asian guy on a white cast. So he plays a phenomenal bad guy in this. I just everything about the show is just great. I mean, all the characters are just so well done. Look, it's not Game of Thrones, but because it's mostly contained in this Chinatown part of the city, but it's Game of Thrones-esque in they're trying to fight for power and it's very Black Sails-ish in ways, but about Chinatown in the late 1800s, which dude, it's obviously, you could tell it's obviously a role Bruce Lee was trying to carve for himself back then. It was just not the right time to do it, and I did some reading on it that eventually a version of that treatment became Kung Fu, the show with David Carradine.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but this is like an early, like a different version of the same treatment or something like that.
Yeah.
Again, I'm basing all of this on a few articles I read online, so I don't know how true any of this is. But it's a treatment that Bruce Lee wrote, and 2 seasons. I'm like just like, please HBO, please fund the 3rd and 4th season. Just announce it because I'm all in on that one.
I just looked it up a little bit. I'm actually curious to watch the first episode because of the title, The Itchy Onion.
Oh, dude. They translated some of the sayings, and it's awesome. They call each other onions all the time. The white people are ducks. Dude, it's when they're trying to go fight someone to dice each other up. Oh, dude, it's so good, man. You just gotta watch it.
Why do they call them onions?
I actually don't know that one. I actually asked my mom about it.
Oh! You said that's like the literal translation.
I think so. Well, my mom thinks it's because that it's of the yellow skin. Onions are yellow, so
okay.
Yeah, you're like, hey, onion.
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
The white folks are ducks. I'm not really sure why they're called ducks. Like, there's a point where the main character gets thrown in jail, and they're like, "You were in duck prison." It's just,
What?
Yeah, it's different. There's coolies. The little workers. There's hatchet men, the gangsters. But no, that they have their own little language. I think it's really, really well done. It's yeah,
cool.
No, it's really cool.
All right. Well, Toby, I know something else up your alley.
Yeah, bring it on.
The Arcade 1-Up X-Men 4-player arcade cabinet has been officially announced.
Hell yeah! So it's 4-player, not 6-player, and it's 1 display instead of 2 displays.
Yeah, it's maybe there'll be a special edition. So for those that don't know, it's a company called Arcade 1-Up. They make replicas, kind of like 2/3 size replica, 2/3, 3/4 size
3/4
replicas of arcade machines, and they usually have a couple games in them that are related. And there's been a couple comic ones, and there's a Turtles one. There was the
Marvel Heroes one that has
the Marvel fighting game, and the Punisher game, was that?
Yeah, the Punisher was on that one, and they also released 2 X-Men versus Capcom different ones,
right?
A slightly different variation of games on them.
So the one that a lot of people have been waiting for was the classic X-Men beat 'em up game, just called X-Men. It's based on the. It looks very similar to the X-Men animated series. It's because it's based on the Pride of the X-Men.
Yeah, I was going to say it's based on the pilot, not the actual.
Right. It's based on the animated pilot. Now I don't know, Kevin, Brock, have you guys seen Pride of the X-Men? Have you seen that?
So good.
Probably a long time ago.
Movie episode.
Probably
so
a long
good.
time ago.
Yeah.
I even have a comic book adaptation of it where they just took screenshots and added air bubbles to it.
Yeah, so it's pre Jim Lee X-Men. It's the X-Men animated series was very heavily influenced by the Jim Lee era with Gambit and Rogue and all those characters. This Pride of the X-Men is just prior to that. So it's Storm, Colossus, Cyclops, Wolverine,
Dazzler, right?
Well, Dazzler, yeah. Oh, so did I say Cyclops? And Dazzler being kind of the one character that stands out on the roster, just because she tends to not get lumped in with the others too often. And yeah, so it was all based on Pride of the X-Men, which if you never get a chance to see it, I don't know, is that streaming anywhere? Like Disney Plus ever put that up? Or it's really good. The X-Men animated series, the animation. The animation itself is not great, but the character designs are fantastic. It's just very complicated to animate.
It says X-Men Pride of the X-Men is available on Disney Plus.
There you go. If you have not seen Pride of the X-Men, it's like an animated X-Men short movie. It's much higher quality. It is still of its time. It's not going to be like a Pixar movie or something like that. But if you like X-Men the animated series and you've never seen Pride of the X-Men, highly, highly recommend it. It's very cool. And one of the best things about the X-Men arcade game is, of course, the completely broken English that the characters talk. It's very strange. I don't know why the script is so weird. Welcome to Die is a classic. Of course, Nothing Stops the Blob. That's always my favorite. But this also comes with Avenger. Well, first this comes with Captain America: The Avengers, which is another great side scroller beat 'em up game. It's not as good as X-Men, but Captain America: The Avengers is really good. Toby,
yeah.
This also comes with Avengers in Galactic Storm.
Yeah.
Have you played this?
No, but from what I hear, that's not a very sought after one, though. From what I've been reading.
No, it's terrible, but it's your brown coat Avengers. It's that era. Yeah. So it's like a half beat 'em up, like half fighting game. It's really bad. I remember playing it like once or twice because I thought it was like going to be like Captain America: The Avengers, which is awesome. What's that?
Does it have Cersei on it?
Maybe.
No, that's the greatest thing of all time.
I can't remember who's on the team. It's because you can go look up videos. I mean, it's online. But Captain America and the Avengers is great. It's Hawkeye. There's a Hawkeye, Vision, Cap, and
Iron Man.
Iron Man. Yeah, and Iron Man. Yeah.
I semi wished. I mean, it's a different company that did it because this is all Konami. I semi was hoping that they would include Spider-Man on there too, but that
Oh yeah, they'll do it. They'll do like their own Spider-Man.
yeah, and also a lot of people, since it's Konami, they wanted the Simpsons to be included. I was like, yeah, no way.
No,
Arcade
no,
likes to print some money. They're not.
no, they'll do their own.
Yeah,
Now, I have not picked up any of these.
yeah.
I've said from the beginning, the X-Men one might be the one to break me.
Yeah, are you gonna put it in the store? Or are you gonna keep it at home?
No, fucking no, never bring it to the store. No way.
What, you don't want to have a little section up front where video games are played at Comics Conspiracy?
No. We'll see. So Ryan Scott over in the Geek Box said that he can hook me up with like a Raspberry Pi. That because I mean, look, for the most part, I want this because of the artwork in the box.
Well, the artwork you could get off a bunch of other sites that you just decal.
Yeah, but I mean, it's real. It's official, right? It's such good comic art. It's such a great. Kevin, I'm going to drop this link in the. I'm going to drop an image here in the.
So you're gonna get one and gut it and put a pie in there?
I kind of want to. And just have this be oh wow! Whatever I just did, I just broke Chrome. Cool, that didn't work. Okay, well I'm not going to do this. But I'm very excited. Go look up the X-Men Arcade. I'm very excited to do this. We'll see. We'll see if I break down and buy it.
So I'll tell you as a longtime arcade one-upper enthusiast.
Yeah, 'cause you have a bunch of these.
Yeah, I've been on board since the very beginning. I very much was liking the idea of smaller arcades because I have a friend of mine. He actually offered it to me first. That one of his buddies was restoring actual arcades, like the real ones.
Yeah,
and I think this is like a couple of years before the arcade one existed, before it came in existence. But he offered me the Street Fighter one first, and I was very tempted because 80s, 90s kid, arcades was, one of the happy places. But
yeah,
I forgot. I mean, it wasn't expensive either. It was actually a really good deal. The guy was like, I think either $300 or $400. It was for a real arcade. That's an insane deal, right? So
yeah.
He was like, dude, you should definitely get it. And at the time, I was in between homes, and I was like, I'm moving, and I can't deal with this right now. And I think he eventually couldn't pass up on the deal, and he bought it. So I went over to his place a couple of times, and I was like, well, why don't you bring it up? And he goes, we can't lift it. It's too heavy. Like the actual, they brought it to his house, and he left it in the garage because he has one of those where it's multiple stairs. The garage is at the bottom.
Yeah.
For years, he left it downstairs because it was just too damn heavy to bring it up. I think eventually, now it's at the bottom floor of his place. But for years he had it at the bottom, like in the garage. I'm like, okay, there's no way I'm gonna get into arcades with this stuff. But then when Arcade 1-Up came along, and with modern technology, they built their little IKEA units of arcades. I'm like, dude, this is it. I'm loving this. I'm loving it. Like, there's just something different. Like, I understand people throwing in pies. I actually haven't modded any of mine yet. Frankly, I haven't opened a lot of them just because of space reasons. I've just been kind of picking them up. I have a Street Fighter one in my living room, and I absolutely love it. I play it like all the time because it's an easy game. I could just jump on, play for a few minutes, and leave. Sometimes I gotta get out of the house, and I'm supposed to wait 5 minutes for someone or something, right? I'll turn it on. It's like right there by the door, and I just play a couple of rounds, and then I leave. The other one I picked up was I picked it up used. It's the Star Wars one, which I really enjoy. It's the old one. All the other ones are still sealed and put away in the garage because I just don't have space for them. One day, maybe.
That is my problem. I love the idea of this stuff. Space is an issue. If I had like an entire spare room, I'd get a handful of them or something. But can I squeak in a spot to have one? And if I'm going to do it, then you just get the you keep the main board, but then you get the Raspberry Pi to
So my thought process on the whole modding them, I'm not against it. I do like the themes. So I kind of am keeping the Street Fighter one till something breaks, and then I probably will start swapping out parts and I'll probably make the Street Fighter 1 a all Capcom fighting cabinet, if that makes sense. So I'll theme it. Like, I want to build one that's like an SNK cabinet. The Turtles one will stay the Turtles one. But I like to theme them because there is a joy in the whole when you play it, the whole the art, the just the look and feel of it.
Yeah. That's why the X-Men one to me, because I mean that's of all arcade games, that's one of those games I put the most time into.
Yeah, for me it was Ninja Turtles.
Hundreds of hours.
Yeah.
Well, hundreds of playtime, maybe not hundreds of hours. But.
Yeah. But no, I mean, it's just a feel to it. Like, the Street Fighter one is obviously a very special one to me, and I wanted that, corny Street Fighter art on the bezel and stuff. So I very, very much enjoy the arcade one-ups. And
I'll send you some pictures. Ryan modded his. He put in like light up LED. He replaced all the buttons with professional buttons. He put in like a speaker.
Don't want any of that. As normal as possible.
I
mean, some of them you can even send to this guy on eBay who actually, because there's games on some of them that you can lock. He unlocks them for you, or he adds the actual arcade one-up versions on there. On some, like the Gen 1s, you could kind of do that. My only problem with them now is they used to be. I mean, they were priced competitively, even though people were complaining. But they were priced originally like at $300 without the riser, just the plain unit, and they figure out everybody wants the risers, so they started including it. But then the price kind of went up to like $350, $400, and I'm like, even at $3, I was kind of like always waited for a sale, and at the time Walmart like totally overordered a lot of these things, so they went on sale a lot. But since Walmart doesn't really order them anymore, or they only have them in limited numbers, the amount of sales on them have like really gone away. So the amount of deals to be had has really gone away. But because not this last one, but the one before that, I think I picked up 3 on Black Friday, and I was like, this Black Friday. I'm like, this Black Friday, I'm going to wait for the Star Wars one, and nothing ever happened. Like, I think Best Buy had like $50 off on like the Pac-Man, the countercade one. I think they had a couple of bucks off on the golf or whatever it was, the something Golden Tee, whatever it's called.
With the rolling.
Yeah, so I mean, the one I'm really wanting is NBA Jam, and I have not seen a deal on it at all. And at this point, I'm like, just give me a little bit of a deal. Just give me like $50 off and I'm in, but nothing's been happening. So, and they started to disappear faster too. Like the Star Wars stand-up one is actually going over retail at this point. So if you want the X-Men, I'm not sure how many they're going to make, but it might be good to just, when they come out, to actually order it then, because...
And that's gonna, like a few of these, that's gonna be one of the most popular ones ever. Probably like with Turtles and Street Fighter. X-Men is such a classic. So
I mean, I have a few of these, and pretty much all of them I got a really, really, really crazy deal on. I think the highest I paid for was the used Star Wars one, which is well below retail, but that's the highest I paid for. So
I don't think those deals are going to happen anymore. I think I think the numbers are just too limited on them.
Yeah.
But X-Men's coming. Looking forward to that. Let's see. Maybe I'll see if I play one at a friend's house or something. That's kind of it for the news stuff. I do want to talk about metal for a little bit here, and then we're gonna get out of here. So if you have not read Metal, Dark Knight's Death Metal number 7, should maybe hold off on listening to the rest of this episode, but if you want to hear a little bit, we'll talk about the series, but mostly just kind of talk about where we think DC's going. We're gonna start it now, and we're gonna talk some full spoilers. So, Brock, you read it. Kevin, you read it, correct? Right?
Yep.
Toby, you haven't read. You didn't finish off Metal yet, right?
No, I think half the issues are like still with you.
So we're gonna mostly, there's not really a ton to spoil in the series, I think, as a whole. But a lot of the conversation I want to have is where we think they're going with the continuity and sort of the events set up at the end. So Death Metal picks up after Justice League. Scott Snyder's run on Justice League, which ran for a couple of years after the original Metal series and No Justice, which kind of introduced all the big cosmic threats now going on with DC. Kevin, I'm going to turn to you because your knowledge of the older stuff's a little bit stronger than mine. One of the things they talk about in this whole series is Perpetua, who's the sort of like the kind of mother god of creation of the DC, not only the DC universe, just, you know, this entire multiverse. They go into, and again, we're just going to kind of jump into this. So, try to get backstory where we can. One of the questions I had in this issue, there's been a few stories involving the hands of creation in the DC universe. They've used this trope a few times.
Right.
In Crisis, Jeff Johns did it in Green Lantern. I want to say probably a couple other books. When they've gone back to when characters have gone back to like the birth of the DC universe, there's like these hands that are like reaching through and like creating the universe. Have they? I want to say there was like some definitive origins of exactly what's going on there in the past. I think Jeff Johns touched on this, but do you remember like when they show this in Crisis and a few of the other books, do they give?
So okay, there's
other than just like a very vague.
So it's very first. I think I'm not going to look this up, but I think it's the first appearance is in Green Lantern number 40, which is the
Silver Age.
That's Silver Age, Hal Jordan and Alan Scott facing off.
Right.
But my memory is that so it's in Crisis on Infinite Earths, Kronos is wanting to see it. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
Kronos has the time viewer and he's trying to see it, and then it becomes the Anti-Monitor's hand, which is some kind of a time paradox.
Right. Because I think in the later books, it's not Ganthet.
Well, no, there was that one shot called Ganthet's Tale.
Yeah.
It was Larry Niven and John Byrne, I think. They said in there, and this was canon for a while, that the Guardians created the hand to scare anybody off from trying to find the origin of the universe.
Okay.
That the hand is just like a I don't know if it's supposed to be like an illusion or if it's an actual hand but it's a Guardian's invention to scare people away from investigating past that point.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm blanking as to they had that it was other. I want to say they've kind of like redone this a few times.
Yeah,
had the Jeff Johns Green Lantern book touched on this briefly, if I'm remembering correctly. But in this, yeah, they're basically like, no, this is the hands of Perpetua. This is like creating the universe, and that there's like this race outside of the universe that is sort of creating all of it, right? And that's one of the big parts at the end of this book is that they basically say, look, you know, we're acknowledging, and we'll get to the continuity and the all stories matter crap in a second here.
So originally, I think, Ryan, just to answer the question, I think that the idea originally is that the hand is capital G God.
Yeah.
Originally, I don't know anymore what the hell it is, but that was
and that's not too. I mean, that's not too far off from how they kind of set this up, right? That it is literally some sort of being or beings that are creating the fabric of the multiverse,
right?
And this sets it up as, again, Perpetua, and there's a series of these. We don't know what they are, but you know, they're not like endless, but you know, these sort of gods above gods, right?
Well, so it's actually they answer it in Trinity of Sin, Pandora's Future's End. The hand belongs to the mother of all creation.
Well, yeah, that's Perpetua.
Yeah, but they didn't label her name there. But that's where they answered the question.
But that's what we're saying. Like they've had multiple answers to what this thing is. In this, they say like, yeah, that there's these the hands of these sort of hands of creation. There's like a number of them, and in this one, if you see that cover for number 7, it comes as it shows up to Wonder Woman as like a very Golden Age, Silver Age take on Wonder Woman. You know, is something that she's able to recognize, right? This different version of herself. So I just wanted to kind of, I always like that idea, but we've had a couple different answers to what those things are. But I do like it when they go back and touch on that. I mean, the big part of this issue, you know, whatever you think of the whole series, you know, things sort of revert back to normal at the end. You know, I mean, it's everything goes fucking crazy for 7 issues. They fight and defeat the Batman Who Laughs, and actually they do something I wasn't really. I was actually a little bit more surprised with. They usually, when you have these events, they kind of kill off the villain at the end, or at least kind of write him off. They actually just kind of leave everything not where it is, but they put everything back where it was. So the Dark Multiverse is still fully there. I actually thought they may kind of shut that down, but maybe they just said, well, no, this is too good of an idea. We're not going to get rid of these characters. We're going to keep them around. So I actually am okay with that, because I don't like when they kill villains off. Like, you know, you can reset reality and fix all this crap and the villain can come back again. I don't know how you top this, battling for the creation of all existences. But you know, I mean, Batman goes and fights a, you know, bank robber in the next episode of Batman. So I guess, you know, that's how comic books roll. You know, so what I was saying, the whole big story of Batman Who Laughs turns us into this crazy weird metal universe, this crazy weird fantasy universe, and defeats everyone. Yada 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 yada. You know, you could go into the specifics of that story. For me, and I think for a lot of people, the story here is, where does this set the DC universe? Because there's been so much talk about wanting to reboot, or is this a relaunch, or what are they doing? And I read through the book twice, and they very quickly gloss over something. And to me, I really think that's the key to what's happening. So back in the 90s, DC created a concept called hypertime. It was Grant Morrison, Mark Waid, maybe Mark Miller. I don't remember if he was.
Was Morrison involved in that?
Yeah, wasn't it? Wasn't it Morrison and Waid when they were on Flash, right? Because
I was remembering Hypertime coming out of Zero Hour. Is that wrong?
Where's Charlie? He knows Zero Hour really well.
Yeah, right.
It first appeared in 1999 in Kingdom, the limited series.
What?
Oh,
yeah, but then Morrison uses it in Flash.
Yeah,
correct.
Yeah.
So it's part of the. Yeah, it's part of the.
It was created by Mark Waid.
Kingdom Come. Yeah, the Kingdom Come. Kind of.
It was the second thing.
Sequely thing. Yeah.
So how is the end of Metal different than just saying Hypertime's back?
Well, that's exactly right. That's exactly what I was trying to say. They very briefly gloss over the fact that Hypertime is, what do they say? They say like Hypertime is being fixed or repaired or something like that. That is the answer. That they could take as long as they want to get to fixing Hypertime, but I really think that is exactly what they're going to use for the DC universe going forward. So the concept of Hypertime, if we go back to Crisis on Infinite Earths, the idea that there are all these multiple Earths at DC, hopefully, I'm assuming most people listening have talked about this enough, I'm sure, kind of understand the concept of what was going on during Crisis on Infinite Earths. Post-Crisis, what happened with a lot of these titles is not everything happen at the same time. There wasn't a bunch of new number ones that all launched the same month like there would have been today. They slowly started introducing books. Books just kept kind of going. Characters sort of popped in and out. They would be in one book, but then another book kind of contradicted it. They brought back the JSA. They brought back, some old Wonder Woman stuff. They were changing continuity. And, Crisis did what it was supposed to do, but you still had inconsistencies. And so the idea of Hypertime was that it's not just infinite worlds. So this world is one world, and this is what the world is. And then you have Earth 2, which is a little different, and Earth 3, which is a little bit different. Hypertime was not only multiple Earths, but that every element could be manipulated and adjusted. So, if they kill Firefly 3 in Batman 217, and then 17 months later they show up in Flash, you're like, Hypertime. I got better. Hypertime. Oh, I got Hypertime. This is fine. It's like that Simpsons, Oh, in episode 3, in episode 32, you clearly, get it, butcher. You could do it better than me. Yeah,
Wizard did it.
Yeah, a wizard did it. Right? Yeah. The answer is a wizard did it. It's the same sort of mentality. We're like, look, continuity is never going to be perfect. Look at Marvel, right? And I use this example all the time. Captain America will always be frozen in World War II. But when did he wake up? 1960? 1970? 2010? 2015?
You have to...
Right. And that's Hypertime. It's the exact same idea, right? What war did Tony Stark get injured in, right? Vietnam? Nope. Afghanistan? Nope. Iraq? Probably not anymore, right? Does the Fantastic Four mean anything when Elon Musk exists, right? So Hypertime is a very easy way to just be like, we'll just ignore this and this thing comes back because to me, that is, they got rid of Hypertime, quote unquote, but the great thing about Hypertime is you can never get rid of it. Once they introduce the concept, it's there forever, right? It's like, oh, this is so fucking genius that a world with no Hypertime is just part of Hypertime. So that is the answer. And honestly, that is the best answer to go forward for the DC universe, is that if a book wants to get way into the weeds and just go into Hypertime, and Flash can be running between parallel dimensions and all this, they can do all this crazy shit. But if you're just reading an issue of like, oh, fucking know, like Man-Bat that comes out soon, and they contradict something, people complaining on the internet, oh, well, this contradicts this book from 3 years ago. Hypertime. Done. Answered. Questions answered. Why is this arc of Wonder Woman, why is her costume different than what's going on in Justice League? Hypertime. Doesn't matter.
Is that what you're telling customers about Future State? Hypertime. It's just Hypertime.
Well, that's exactly what it is, right? I mean, they even say that at the end of Middle. They're like, oh, everything is... They're like, we remember everything. So this is the great part about... this puts them in line with Marvel, right? That the Golden Age, the Silver Age, current day, pre-New 52, they can all exist as this character, and creators can pick and choose what they want to remember. Man, if they want Batman to remember the real Batman of Zur-En-Arrh, they totally can. They could be like, yeah, remember that time I went to this alien planet? If they want to like go back to like any of those goofy ass 50 stories and bring that stuff back, Batman could just be like, yep, remember when that happened? Remember when I used to fight a Riddler on like giant typewriters? Yeah, that was a crazy time. And they just don't have to pretend like it never happened. And I really, really want DC to stick with this, because this gives the creators reign to use anything. And of course, people could abuse it and it could be stupid, but I think they're smart about it. And you can acknowledge all these weirdo stories, but still have it work. And I think it's a great out for like, we're going to bring back Roy Harper. We're going to fix Wally West. We're going to redo the origin of the Teen Titans and put everything back to normal, where there could be an original Teen Titans, and then the new Teen Titans, and then the Jeff Johns team, and we can just, this all works, all right? Marvel has the same problem. They just don't acknowledge it, and so it's not a problem.
Right.
DC, by acknowledging it, they've continuously had to go back and redo this, and I think they just keep making it even more complicated. I really want this to just sit. You can do your Crisis events, you can do your Dark Multiverse, you could do your Infinite Crisis, you could do these big old crazy stories, but forcing creators to have this, because the good shit's always going to come back. It doesn't make any sense. People are always going to go back to those original Teen Titans characters. People are always going to go back to those relationships. And you can have a future state where you're going to do something different. You can say New 52 was just a parallel dimension now, and those stories, they happen, they count, but it's just not the same characters. This, to me, fixes a lot of these problems. I really, really hope they stick with it, because I don't expect everything I like will come back immediately, but a lot of stuff that has been taken away from DC in the last 10 years now has a really good shot of coming back, because they're the fan favorite takes. And with Dan Didio gone, the legacy stuff can probably become a little bit more prominent. And
so what you're saying is you like that it's undoing. So Crisis on Infinite Earths, quote unquote, fixed a problem that has now been unfixed.
Well, it still happened, right?
Yeah.
I have no problem, the putting the JSA and the JLA on one Earth. I like that.
This is where we part ways. I like the Earth 1, Earth 2 split.
Okay.
Because it makes each team, I feel like it makes each team more special.
Yeah.
Because if everybody's just jammed on one Earth, it's like, okay, that's just another superhero team. Cool.
Well, but that's that final page, right? Does a couple Brian Hitch pages. It puts the JSA and Infinity Inc. and all that stuff probably back in time, back in during World War II. So to me, that fixes that. Now you can still have the modern day team come about, but I prefer that. But maybe they can have a story that's a Hyper Time Earth 2 story.
I think I'll always come back to Superman being the first. Mm-hmm. I just like that. I mean, obviously it's way before all of our times chronologically, 1938. I just mean he should feel like the most important. And if he's just another hero who showed up after 5 dozen other heroes had been fighting all these decades, then it's just like, it doesn't feel special. That's what I'm coming back to. Superman should feel a little bit more special than all the others. I'm not saying he should be everybody's favorite character. I just mean, it's like when they draw them standing side by side, Superman should be like a half inch taller than anybody else, literally and kind of figuratively, in this fan's opinion.
Well, I think, you get back to the same problem Marvel has, where the Fantastic Four were the first, except for these thousands of other things that happened before the Fantastic Four came around that you found out about in other stories. Whether it's Apocalypse, whether it's time travel, whether it's, the Invaders, whether it's previous takes on mutants, whether it's, whatever have you. I don't mind Superman coming significantly later and being the best that's ever been, inspired by the JSA, kind of, like his parents kind of maybe being like, oh yeah, he's this hero. That doesn't bother me. But the great thing about Hyper Time is that we could have a story where they could totally do Earth 2 and have Earth 2 be.
And you could have the Superman of Earth 2. Yeah,
you could. And so one of the other big things in this is that they, modern day, the center of the DC universe had been Earth. It used to be Oa, right? Oa used to be the center of the universe. But in the current day, the DC was sort of the DC Earth was sort of the focal point between, the entire multiverse. They said, there's like 2 centers now. There's like an Alpha, and they talk about Darkseid not being around, so you can imagine Darkseid, and it's probably the Omega side of the universe or whatever. This other world is called, it's an Earth, but it's not our Earth. It's this different Earth. It's the Elseworld, right? So not only do we have Hypertime back, but they're giving us Elseworld back. Now that was, again, Elseworld is a great tool, just like What If, that you can dip into and do whatever the hell you want. And Hypertime can make this stuff count because they've gone to these Elseworld worlds. They've gone to Gotham by Gaslight. They've taken characters from these worlds and kind of done stuff with them in the regular comics. And What If has as well. They've, Exiles, they've had that comic just focused around going to the What If worlds. So I love the fact that not only is Hypertime back, but I would kill if they start using the Elseworld title again, and actually do more Elseworlds, because those are super fun standalone stories that you can get kind of random creative teams on to really just go wild, right? I mean, some of the best comics, like Superman Red Son, think about Kingdom Come, right? These are Elseworlds, and they took the good stuff out of Kingdom Come, obviously, and they're in the main DC universe, but so all of this stuff is what I wanted. I know it took a while to get back here. It's been a crazy 10 years in DC. Rebirth feels like it was sort of already happening. Like, you just chunk 52 out of the timeline. Rebirth still all happened. You can just say various events connected the two, and Hypertime doesn't matter. And I like where they're going. I like that Universal or Omniversal team. I like that, like, hero villain team of, like, well, the real shit that's going to affect everything. Like, we may have to be a little bit more prepared as a planet. I like that idea. Anyway, that's Metal. I thought it was a very fun book. It's very over the top, very crazy. It's exactly what I wanted, but all eyes were on the ending, and I think they pulled it off. I'm excited to see where they go with this. This is what I want from both Marvel and DC: the acknowledgement of everything, if they want to acknowledge it, but also not having a fear of changing. They can do new stories, do new takes, do new characters, and whatever sticks, you keep, and whatever doesn't work, Hypertime, doesn't matter. Get it out. Something else will come back, and you just keep pushing. So,
yeah, well, you're kind of touching on before they did Crisis on Infinite Earths. One of the criticisms at the time from older pros, because Marv Wolfman came in as the second wave of creators after the Silver Age. I'm talking about. So older pros, the idea was, instead of doing this, if you think it's too confusing for new readers to have this multiverse, instead of doing this giant event that's just going to mess everything else up and try to reconcile it all, just stop mentioning Earth 2. If you really think you're scaring off new readers, just don't do Earth 2 stories.
Yeah, and you could do 1,000 Superman stories without ever mentioning Earth 2.
Right.
And if you want to mention it.
And when the letter writers write in, well, what, this contradicts this, and what about Earth 2? You just don't print those letters. That's how it used to work in the pre-internet days.
Yeah. And I think this is they can just go, Hypertime.
Yep.
We answered it. Doesn't matter. It's contradicts. We don't care. It fits the story. No, I don't want, look. I don't want every other issue of Superman to be like some crazy other weirdo story and things change constantly. I mean, at the end, I mean, minor spoilers, I guess. Jimmy Olsen now owns the Daily Planet. If you haven't read Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, the Matt Fraction book, you have to read it. So good. So when Bendis was wrapping up Superman, I'm like, I know exactly how this is going to end because of what they set up in Jimmy Olsen. And sure enough, it does, right? Jimmy Olsen buys the Daily Planet. Leave that. That's a cool idea. you want to change owners a couple years down the road, but if the next creator comes over and they're like, "Oh, the Daily Planet's in trouble. We don't, that old owner, random Joe Schmo," it's like, what? Like that would bother me if they're that loose with it. I don't want that. I do want some regular consistency, but you could change it. If you change it in 3 arcs and you're like, "Oh, new owner of the Daily Planet," okay, fine, or whatever. We're doing this again. So it's not like I want these to be like, we're actively contradicting, but if they're just like, we're just never going to mention the owner of the Daily Planet for like 10 years, like, that's okay. That's fine. Right. Yeah. If it's a major plot point, cool, but it doesn't have to be. Yeah. I mean, Kevin, outside of, Metal does not seem like your kind of type of book, but just where it ended, I'm kind of wondering what
I think when we've talked about it in the past, I loved a couple of those crossovers. Brock, I don't know what your favorite of, if you read all the crossovers.
Yeah, I read them all.
Oh, Superboy Primal was fantastic.
It was actually
I like the Owlman, as I've mentioned before. The Robin King one, the Riley Rossmo one, was really cool. Yeah, it's kind of a little 90s image-ish as far as a series goes.
Sure. And that's intentional.
Yeah, I know it's it's big, it's over the top, it's crazy. Every issue I think had a scene I really liked. It's just not my favorite kind of series, but look, I loved the multiverse, the OG multiverse. I was introduced to that concept at probably age 6. I don't even know anymore. I was never confused. Ever. Ever. It's ridiculous. It was more confusing after Crisis. Because being a reader who was buying those comics those months after Crisis, it was 10,000 times more confusing then. So I'm happy to have it back.
Yeah.
Like,
I can tell you, I have 2 favorite scenes, and whenever I see them in a DC comic, I am giddy. One is the Legion's time
bubble.
Time bubble.
Okay.
When it's just like the years, like the names, the numbers are just like going by, or you just see like multiple like timelines kind of just like merging.
Yeah.
Or they look into like the multiverse or hypertime, and it's just this fractured window of all these different images. Those are like my 2 favorite things ever. And I love the fact that at least one of those is now back.
So what about if a writer wanted to acknowledge Superman as having been costumed Superboy?
I love it. I hope he's
not our opinion. Do you think that that's is Superboy? If you wanted to acknowledge that happened, do you think a writer could just do that?
I don't think is Superboy gone? Morrison's Superboy. So New 52 introduced that super-ish boy, super boyish, I guess maybe is the word.
I mean, teenage Clark Kent in Smallville.
Yeah, I think I think that's 100% a thing.
Yeah, right? That's what I'm wanting. So a writer could just say, "I want to tell a Superboy story this month in Superman, a flashback story."
Well, and because of Doomsday Clock and Hypertime, we have the Mom Pa Kent are back, and that's one of my favorite. I'm a big fan of them being around. I do not like them being dead. Alfred is there. There's talk that he's gonna come back in some fashion, and now that's a point. I would not like Alfred to just show up in the next issue of Batman and them not even acknowledge it, because it's been such a major part of the Batman.
Hypertime.
Well, but that's the story, right? If you kill Superman and he's just randomly back in another book, that doesn't make sense. Alfred is that major of a character. But if they're like, yeah, okay, we're gonna throw Alfred into a Lazarus pit and he's back in 6 months, 100% fine, totally fine. But make it a story, right? Nothing is forever in comic books. There's no reason for Alfred to be gone for forever at this point. I'm not saying that death can't have meaning. He could be gone for a while. I just don't. If the story works, if it makes sense at the time, that's cool. I'm okay with it. But writing Alfred has been in as many comics dead as he ever was alive. He's in every fucking issue of every Batman thing. He's just a ghost, or he's talking to him in a flashback. But he's in every book, right? There was another who. God, this happened to some other character fairly recently. Shit, who was it? I don't remember if it was Marvel or DC, but it was the same sort of thing, like where the character appeared. Oh, it was of course, it was Wolverine. When they killed Wolverine, he was in like every other book, like for 6 months. He kept showing up as like a flashback or other events or random, like he was in a bunch of stuff after they killed him. You're like, dude, like. I mean, he's dead, but he's still here. He's the old man Logan and everything. Shortly after, so like, yeah, Alfred could be dead. It made sense for the story. It was very emotional. You don't bring him back 2 issues later, but a couple years later, you want to bring Alfred back? Yeah, I got no problem with that.
So, what do you think of the 2 centers of the universe now?
Well, Elseworld is interesting, right? I love the idea of Elseworld. Maybe that's going to be like the hypertime planet, right? Where just everything goes. Every Elseworld takes place on that planet. That's cool if they want to do that. But the way they set it up, they say it's like an alpha. It's like the Alpha Earth or whatever, and Darkseid is missing. They said every cosmic being has returned except for Darkseid, which is like, oh, okay, well, probably here we go again. So I would expect he'll be part of that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't like Earth being the center of the universe. I like Oa being the center of the universe. That's great. That's a great idea. That's the whole idea. That's the whole reason they have the O is the center, and then they have all the sectors around it. Like that's the whole point of Oa, was that it was the center of the universe. And God knows what they're going to do with Green Lantern after Morrison's series ends. Who knows what's going on in that book? So at the end of that, I 100% expect it's just going to be like, and Noah's back, and everything's back, and we're just back to Green Lantern, normal Green Lantern now. Normal Green Lantern. I mean, look, I like it. I just have no clue what's happening in the book. So when the backwards issue was the only issue that made any sense to me, maybe that's intentional. I don't know. It's very strange. It's such a weird
Maybe book. You have to read all the issues backwards.
I need to like look at the annotations for the series, because people way smarter than me know what the hell he's talking about. I can't figure it out.
Oh. So to put a bow on this, am I correct? And because maybe others are wondering this same thing. Everything happened.
That's what they said.
So everything. So you can drop into Doom Patrol's. Hey, remember that time when we first fought the Animal Vegetable Mineral Man? Yep. And it's that flashback to that showcase issue? Or
don't bring that up. Don't bring that up. We don't bring that up. But yes, we did it.
Yeah, and why not, right?
Yeah.
Morrison, mines the depth of the 50s weirdo fucking DC Comics constantly. He does different things with it.
Yeah.
But that's perfectly
But his whole thing in Batman, his whole conceit was every Batman story happened.
Yeah.
He just explained all those planets and those aliens as like drug trips.
Right.
So if they said every...
And the next writer could come in and say, oh, but it wasn't a drug trip.
Right.
It was actually real.
Yeah. So you could say, remember when there was Batmite? Remember when I became the Batman of Planet X?
Please.
Remember when...
I want Batmite back so bad. You don't even know.
So, okay.
But right, I mean, why not? Right?
No. I know. I'm just saying. I just want to make sure I'm understanding it correctly. That we've reset and everything is now valid. So if I'm writing Batman and I want to have a flashback to that issue where him and Robin are Batman and Robin of the jungle and they're wearing like Tarzan leopard skin and their masks, that's cool.
Again, I'm going to assume this is going to be based on you were the ongoing monthly writer of a very serious Batman title. You're probably not going to have that, but you're doing Batman Black and White. You can do whatever the fuck you want, right? You're doing a goofy team up title, Batman and Beast Boy or whatever, and sure, Batman could have that be part of it. Like, look, let's go back to Brave and the Bold. Are you kidding me? I would kill for a Batman Brave and the Bold title right now. That's Batman, rando characters, and wacky ass adventures. I'd love that. Right? That'd be so great. They can just go back and do goofy ass stuff. I'm not saying it has to be goofy, just it could be very experimental.
Oh no, yeah, but the joke at the time of that Brave and the Bold, the Jim Aparo era, the joke was always, well, those take place on Earth Haney. Because they do not resemble any other versions of those characters being published. But DC just kind of let it run off as its own book.
Oh, and I love it. Batman's in the Wild West. Why not? Sure, it's Batman. Sure, he's there. He's hanging out with
Batman's like a badge carrying deputy of the GCPD, like hanging out at police headquarters.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
And there was the time Batman was murdered and the Atom is dancing in his dead brain to reanimate his corpse to fight crime.
Love it.
Bring it.
I want more. I want more of this stuff.
So for me, I think what I got from most of that was like what they did is we now have the infinite universes, right? That are kind of the known infinite universes. But Elseworlds...
Yeah, and new Earths popping up. So to me, I read that as...
Well...
Never, ever expanding, never ending.
But
every world's unique.
It's one of those things where the opposite, because they kept that kind of, you flip the map over and it's all black, right? I think what they did was they took that Earth Alpha, that Elseworlds, and made that the anchor. So when you flip the map, that's the anchor on that side, and that map side, the dark side of the map, is all the stories that we've never seen or not. Like that's where like the Tales of the Multiverse stuff, right? Like you have once those stories are told, they come up to the other one.
Maybe. I mean, the idea of the Dark Multiverse is, I mean, it's obvious and genius, and I'm surprised someone didn't do it before. You kind of had it with Quard and the antimatter universe, right? That's kind of the original Dark Multiverse, but I don't know if that they're considering those the same things. It's almost like you have a kind of like a cube. It's not just like a flat one side, other side. It's almost like a cube shape. Things are alternating each other, and the center is different from all of that. It's an interesting idea, and I don't know.
The Elseworld stuff is the unexplored, right? The Earth. What are they? Earth Prime? Are they calling it? What's the one what's they're calling the Earth that's no longer the center?
Well, the DC Earth is Earth Zero.
Okay, so
and that's been for a while.
So
they never
Earth Zero is like this. Like Earth Zero and that side is everything that's come to light, everything that we know, everything that's right. When they talk about hypertime fixing itself, and you'll get glimpses of these things, right? It's like them experiencing all of these stories that are being created from the other side, the unknown, right? We don't know
for Elseworlds.
Yeah, because Elseworlds is unknown. Like we don't know what will come out of Elseworlds. Anything can come out of Elseworlds. Right, you could have the Waynes kill the guy in the alley, and then they turn into, a crime evil family of killers.
Yeah, and that's I wonder what they're going to do to differentiate Elseworlds from the Dark Multiverse. The whole pitch for the Dark Multiverse was that it was the same story, the same worlds as the normal world, just it goes bad instead of good, right? I mean, Professor's whole thing is like,
but those are known now. That's the thing is they've come over to the known side. So you'll have one Earth and then the opposite on that side. To me, Elseworlds is something it's a connection to what we don't know.
Maybe. I mean, the whole idea of the Dark Multiverse is that they're just like the mirror. It's
a version of an opposite, right? But
it's not like it comes to the regular multiverse. I mean, the whole pitch is that like, okay, well, this is a multiple Earth where Crisis on Infinite Earths is like kind of bottled, and this happens. Well, we're gonna have one where it kind of happens a little differently in the Dark Multiverse, but with Hypertime, you not only have the regular Earth, the Dark Multiverse, you then have infinite versions of all these events stretching out to infinity. Yeah, so
that's what I'm saying. The side with Earth Zero is the known side. The side on Elseworlds is the unknown.
I don't know what you mean when you say known side, though.
That's all the stories that DC's told. Everything that DC's told. Everything that's come to light. It's the Tales of the Dark Multiverse. It's before Crisis, everything that DC has done is on that side. Everything that is at some point going to be told, it might not ever come over, because there's tons of stories that we never see the light of day. But it's more of like looking at it from a creative perspective, right? It's the untapped, we don't know what's going to come out of it. Elseworlds brings that whole idea, and then it comes into the known world, or the known universe.
Not sure I understand.
Known multiverse, known infinite multiverse, unknown infinite multiverse.
Okay. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Think of the Library of Dreams and Lucian.
Sure, but that's not what this is, right? I mean, the idea of the multiverse and the dark multiverse is that they are just the multiverse is good eventually wins out. That the scales tilt towards justice. In the dark multiverse, the scales tilt towards injustice or evil. That was Perpetua's whole thing of like, fuck the main world, I'm going to flip the dark multiverse to be the real world. The Elseworld is still in our side, I believe. I mean, that's how I read it, is that Elseworld is still in our side, so it's in the multiverse, not the dark multiverse. But because it is one of the centers of the multiverse. So there's like, I mean, when you say two centers, I mean you basically have 2 points. I mean, 2 centers is kind of a weird thing to say, but it's like 2 points. And so Elseworld might be good, it might be bad, but still, I think the idea is that it's not like in the middle. It's still on our side. I would, if they're making Elseworld literally a world, like literally a planet, then it would be kind of like just various stories, various versions of all these characters exist somehow on this thing. Like, yeah, it's not really clear what they're doing with that, but it's not like Elseworlds is like a. Does that make sense? Because I don't know. Like, I mean,
here.
I don't know.
You ready? I got it. It's Hypertime.
Sure.
It's just for me. It was Elseworlds is the stuff that's untapped. It's the stuff that we don't know, and it gets
maybe.
And the thing is it gets pulled through. That's why there's 2. It's kind of like you have you have everything coming towards Elseworlds on this side, and then it passes through and comes out to this one.
But Elseworld is not unknown. I mean, the idea of Elseworlds is that it's.
But the thing is,
the regular Earth, just things are done differently. But it's
done differently every time. Elseworlds is like the Red Rain Batman is not the same as in Darkest Night, the Green Lantern one. They're both Elseworld stories, right? Mm-hmm. But it's one of those things where it's pulled through that kind of filter, and then once it's told, it's brought to the DC continuity as it is the mass one. Like it's that world now exists on the other side because it exists now. It was told.
Okay. I'm just going to move on because I have no idea what we're talking about. Anyway, we're going to move on. That's metal. That's metal.
It's death
Toby.
metal.
If you're saying moving on and you don't have any other topics, then it just means
I'm moving on to the end of this podcast. I don't know where to go from here. I'm thoroughly confused. What's up, Toby?
No, nothing. I was just like wondering, like, is this your sly way of ending the podcast? Because I was like,
I guess it is. Yeah, that's.
So
you gonna read metal?
Then we're not moving on, obviously.
You gonna read metal?
No. I think half the issues are still with you.
You're gonna get them.
But when COVID is done and I can actually show up at your store.
You can show up at the store. Yeah, it's metal's a big story. I think if you're just reading for like, oh, I want to know the literal events of the story, yeah, metal's the beats from issue to issue are they're interesting. I like them. They're fun, but I feel like the original Metal, the stakes were a little bit higher. The introduction of the Knights was a little bit stronger.
It was a little bit tighter of a story. Like you when you had those one shots, it was kind of a reprieve or a break from the main story that you were like, what's like this character? Let me see about this character. And then you came back to Metal. You didn't need to read it, right?
Yeah.
But then towards the end, they had the more of the one shots like they had virtually the entire time this time, where I think that you jumped out of the Metal story to go to the special, and then jumped back in, and Metal was just like it kept going, right? But if you were just reading Metal, you were just like, yeah, okay, they went and did something and came back.
Yeah. The original Metal, the character moments and the characters introduced, I feel, were a little bit more important. One of my favorite parts of the main Justice League book, I said this before when I was talking about it, is it felt like an ongoing Crisis on Infinite Earths title, like because it was dealing with the Monitor and the Anti-Monitor in Perpetua, and it was a cool idea. I just think Death Metal itself, the where it takes the DC universe was more important than the kind of the character beats or the specific plot of the title, which is not a bad thing. Not necessarily a bad thing. I still like the big Wonder Woman or the big Wonder Woman Batman Who Laughs fight. That was a cool idea.
Well, I think what it is,
I guess we should talk, right? Because Wonder Woman is sort of like punted to like. We don't really know. End of time, I guess. That's what's happening in the Future State title. But we'll know more in the next couple weeks. But she's gone from the regular time for now. But obviously she'll be back. She's not dead or anything like that. They're like, no, she's out there. She's just gone for a little bit. So
yeah, I think what Death Metal was is I think it was more of a prequel to this idea that everything matters, where you have all of these weird ideas and crazy concepts, and everybody loves Bat-Rex, right? And like, it's like,
yeah, well, the main one was more about the characters. This was more about the final like kind of continuity.
Yeah, it's like everything is coming, right?
Yeah. So that's not going to work for some people the way the original Metal series may quite have clicked. But the implications for if you're a DC fan, I think are huge. So
have you read Generation Shattered yet?
I know it's literally. Well, I had technically yes, I did read it. I read an advanced copy, but it was like not 100% complete. I did read the whole thing like start to finish in its finalized form, but I read like a chunk of it, and it was cool. I liked it.
No, after reading Metal and picking that up, that was the first thing I read, and I was like,
yeah,
that I think is a great way to just get comfortable with what they're talking about. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So if anybody's like, what the F am I, like, what is going, like Generations Shattered is a very good kind of way to get you a spattering of the scope of what they're talking about.
Yeah. Well, Kevin, did you get that? Because that seems like that's up your alley.
Yeah, I did. I haven't read it yet, though.
Yeah, because that's a bunch of some new characters, some new takes, some old takes. I love the idea of going back to like grabbing the Batman from like 1939 and bringing him with Sinestro, Green Lantern, Sinestro, and Booster Gold and Commodity, and like that's fun. Like it's just fun, right? Like, and to be a fun story should a good story or a fun story should trump continuity.
Julie Schwartz would approve of you. So, okay, his term for people on the opposite end of what you just said was, and this was meant to be not a positive compliment. I believe he called them archaeologists.
Yeah,
is it people who just look back and all they want to do is sift through the rubble and look for like kind of like every continuity has to click together. We've got to solve everything and build everything, and it's all got to match. And the whole point is like, I know now it's a collector's market, but I mean, these were disposable entertainments.
Right.
Like you read it for 20 minutes, half an hour, whatever. And then is it a fun story? Did you enjoy reading it? Yes, I did. Okay. Then we did our job.
Yeah. I don't want continuity to be like intentionally like ignored and shat on and things changed just for no reason, just on a whim constantly. But there's ways to acknowledge old stuff or use old ideas and just have it be a fun story. Like Generation Shattered. It's like, okay, no, this is cool because it's like, we're just going to pick from all these weird multiverse timelines and just throw all these characters together. Does it matter? Nope. It's fun. It's cool.
Continuity is the scaffolding that's holding it all up, but it shouldn't be about the continuity.
Right.
Well, and the continuity is more along the lines for the present comics. Like the books that are coming out now that are kind of like the DC present books, right? Like, so stuff that goes on in Batman should reflect stuff that's going on in Superman or Batman Superman. In Justice League, stuff needs to kind of squeeze into fitting, like, oh yeah, they were doing this while this was happening, right? It's not like it needs to be perfect, but it needs to feel like it's natural enough that you know, oh yeah, that's plausible, right? Like you said, Alfred coming back right after Death Metal in the next issue of Batman, that's a shock. That's not how you do it. Bringing him in like gradually or having him come back, you know, in a few months, that's fine, right?
Yeah.
But once he's back, the rest of the books, present books, acknowledge that he's back.
Yeah, as long as you can kill any character, you can bring any character back, you can change anything as long as you have some sort of story for it. But I don't need, you know, if there's, again, like we said before, right? Hypertime fixes continuity glitches, and you can just ignore. I mean, there will be people online that won't ignore it, but you should ignore a lot.
Aren't going to ignore it.
Yeah.
And Brock, you can always go with the simplest way that what they used to be done was just the little box in the corner. This story takes place before the events of Batman.
Yeah.
Editor's note.
550. Yeah.
Yeah. They still do that. Okay. That's a podcast. Thank you all for listening. We have some wonderful Patreon backers I would love to thank for being regular supporters of the Comic Conspiracy Podcast. Of course, we have to thank our good friend Joe Duff, Jesse Peterson over at the Comic Book Matters Podcast, Jimmy Rivera at the Social Forum Podcast, Andrew Nelson Mendez at Recovery of an Anime Junkie Podcast. Make sure you check out all those podcasts available, probably in the same place you're listening to this. And Craig Anderson over at ClearPathCoaches.com. Check out his work over there if you need some help being a better professional. Check out Craig. And we got some more $5 backers here. If you want to be on the list that I try to speed read as fast as possible, mispronouncing as many names as I possibly can, you can go over to patreon.com/comicconspiracy and kick us $5 a month, and okay, or less or more if you would like.
Whatever you're
like Max Hewitt,
whatever,
Hunter Patrick, Tim Bradshaw, Martin Aguilar, Jeffrey Hirschman, Double O Evans, John Seep, Timothy O'Brien, Paul Rincon, Josh Pickett, Mal V, Christopher Haith, Tim Martin, Ames Foster, Mason Barber, Robert Lane, Joseph Rodriguez, Bryce Larson. Sorry, that's Bryce Larson. Quotes. Identity Stunt, that's Joe Cachadorian over there. PJ Ryder, Zach Johnson, Jack Ildefonso, Chris Lockhart, Brian Moreski, Don Kilson, Father Dante, Paula Schultz, Tim from Virginia Beach, Chris Bunch, Steve Septia, Chris Palaki, Ivan Leskanik, Alex McHale, Walzo, Christopher Noyes, David Safar, Eddie Marino, Mark Long, Andrew Cuscieri, Miles Gukula, David Beroldi, Michael Morgan, Mario Miranda, Anirban Banerjee, and Dominic Arizman. I had like two names mixed together in my head. There you go. Is that it? think that's it. You still look like it. Yeah, it looks like everyone. Thank you, guys. Thank you all very much. What the crap we got here? What else we got? I don't know. Where's my notes? Here we go. Geekbox.net. That's where you can go to find all our previous episodes along with comicsconspiracypodcast.com. Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Everything's over there. If you want to get some physical comic books mailed to you, please check out comicsconspiracy.biz. Our shipment's running a little bit late this week, so if you're listening to this Wednesday morning, hopefully our books are all up and ready for you soon. But 2 weeks in a row, sucky start to the year. But most of our inventory is over there at comicsconspiracy.biz. You can go pick up some stuff for mail order or pick up at the store. If you would like to see what Brock's up to, he's over at conspiratorBrock.com. Charlie's got the Wanderers in the Fourth Dimension podcast, all about Doctor Who. And Kevin has a weekly interview series called Between the Panels, which is at fanbasepress.com. Of course, you can check out my wife, Leanne, and her art over at leannehill.com and etsy.com/shop/LeanneHillArt. If you're on Twitter, I am Ryan Higgins Ryan. Brock, any luck?
Nothing.
Still trying?
People
still trying.
Need to Twitter support or something, man.
Did you answer Karen? Karen told you to DM her. Did you DM Karen?
That was something else.
Oh, okay. Well, that's Brock Sager. Toby is Toby XI. Insanity and Chaos. That is Charlie. Kevin is that Kevin Sharp in the stores. Comics Con store. Please follow all of us. Brock will be back soon. Don't worry. Once Biden's in office, we'll get you back in.
Yeah, it's been 3 months. We'll see.
It's been that long?
Yeah, it was October.
Holy shit. Remember that. Day of Little Living Infamy. The real true crime of the last 3 months.
Yeah.
Brock losing his account. Geekbox.
Jesus. I get
Geekbox.
auto banned and somebody else takes 4 years. Jesus.
Geekbox is where you can. Well, all you got to do is just don't threaten new violence against sitting senators and congressmen, and you're probably good. Geekbox is where you can find me every week. Talking to my good friends Ryan Scott, Justin Haywald, Adam Bitch, occasionally some other people. How did we talk about this week? No idea. What did we even talk about? They talked about The Expanse a bunch.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, I still gotta watch that.
Yep. It's an amazing.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen it. I do want to watch it though. I just really good.
So I started reading the books. I read all of them up till the current one, which is out this year, book 9. Really great stuff. And then I started watching the TV show. And despite it going from sci-fi to Amazon, it's almost a smooth transition of like the look and feel of the entire show.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've heard the show is really good. Also, check out Manga Machinations for good friends. Talk about manga and anime over there. That's it. We are done. If you have any detailed questions about Hypertime or the DC Universe continuity going forward, hit me up on Twitter. Leave some questions on Patreon. We didn't get any last. Our recordings have been kind of goofy, and we had some weird episodes. So, if you are a Patreon backer, there is a sticky thread for where to leave questions for the podcast. No questions this week. I was going to do Twitter, but I was like, we'll talk about metal forever. So, we'll probably do some questions next week. But that is it. We are done, and we'll catch everyone next week.